This weekend, the latest adaptation of the Disney attraction, The Haunted Mansion, releases in theaters. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Let me know, what did you think about The Haunted Mansion, and how does it compare to the 2003 version? I've never seen the 2003 version, so I can't give you my thoughts on that. Also, at the end of the video, I'm gonna have my son hop in so he can share his thoughts on the movie as someone that's in the target demographic for the film. And let's get started talking about the good. And probably the best thing about this film is the cast. All of the actors are very fun, likable, and charismatic. Their characters are written to be charming and interesting. There's just enough of a backstory there that there's something that, makes them a person with some amount of an arc to them. And then they have a personality that it's fun to see how each of them reacts to being in this haunted mansion. All of them are given kind of their moment to be really funny. Several of them are given their moment to have kind of a heartfelt moment. And so the thing that really shines here, that elevates the whole film, is the cast and their built-in charisma and likability. Other thing about this movie is that it touches on several different genres here, or has several different ways in which it tries to connect with you and entertain you. Of course, it's a ghost story. It's meant to be spooky, and it's a family film. It's aimed for a pretty broad audience, so there's not like gore. It doesn't have gross out creatures. There's not like ghosts with their eyes falling out or anything like that would kind of be too icky or gross for someone. But it's it's a little bit of a spooky ghost story that has a little bit of something in the scary category, but then also it's meant to be a comedy. So there's a number of jokes in here, and they're a little bit spaced out, but there's plenty of solid laughs at different points in time throughout the film that just makes it fun while being spooky, but it also can be very heartfelt, where in particular with kind of the two leads, LaKeith Stanfield and then Rosario Dawson, with each of their characters, we learn things about their past that carries a lot of emotional weight. So it's a movie that also, while being funny and a little spooky, has a good bit of emotion and heart to it. So you feel like it's not just trying to be a one-note movie, it is trying to be a little bit more holistic, and it touches on a lot of different things. And one final other nice thing in here, there's certain parts in the movie where they find some really creative ways to visualize some of the ghost stuff and the haunted mansion aspects, where it starts bending and tripping around, and the way that transition between specific shots. There's a few times in the movie where they do some pretty cool stuff. That's probably the big thing I can say about this movie, is that it is a movie you can take the whole family to. I would feel perfectly comfortable having my 4-year-old watching this, and having something that if you want something that's spooky but not necessarily scary, that make you laugh a little bit, it's a family spooky movie. But I also don't know that it did any one thing particularly great. So let's move on to the bad. And the big thing here is that it really does just kind of fit into that mediocre middle, where it touches on different things. It has different ways to entertain you, but there's not one thing about this movie that really stands out, that makes a mark, that makes it memorable. In which case you have a movie that is enjoyable enough while you're watching it. It's safe for the whole family. It's perfectly fine if it comes on cable. You'd be like, oh, let's just check this one out. But there's not something that immediately draws you to this specific film. So just going through the things I mentioned in the positives, it's a little spooky. It's a ghost scare story, but it's never really scary. So if you're going to this, if you're looking for a movie to scare you, this movie's not particularly scary. It doesn't even have jump scares. It's just, yeah, there's ghosts and it's a little spooky. So maybe my 4-year-old would be scared by it, but my other kids, they'd be totally fine with it. And then it has some solid jokes in it. But it's not like an all-out comedy. It's not trying to be overly silly or anything like that. So there's nice jokes spaced out that make for a well-rounded film. But if you're trying to find a movie to make you laugh, this isn't the movie that you would pick. And then it can be heartfelt. They have backstories for these characters, so there is a little bit of emotional punch in it. But it's not like these are great, memorable characters that a year from now we're going to be talking about this standout performance, this great character, or anything like that. It's just, yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of emotion in there. But if you want a drama, if you want to feel, if you want to cry, this isn't the movie you would pick. And then there's some cool visuals, but not that many. They don't happen enough in the film. They're just a couple of times you're like, oh, that was pretty cool how they visualized that. But it doesn't happen enough. And that can make the film a little bit difficult to evaluate when it's not doing a lot overtly wrong, but it's not doing anything particularly great either. I took my 11-year-old son to go see it. Here's what he had to say. All right, Liam, you went to go see the movie with me. What'd you think about the film?
I enjoyed it. It was the first family horror movie, first actual horror movie I've seen ever.
So like, you've seen some scary stuff. You've actually seen several of the Alien movies, and those are kind of horror films. But this is the first like ghost story, spooky, overtly trying to that environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
The part I thought was the funniest is when in the trailer they're like drawing the ghost guy, and then they draw like an exact replica.
Smiling like, yeah, like that.
This kind of thing.
Exactly.
Is this the man who mugged you?
Wow.
Right.
And, like, they didn't even put like skin on it. It's just the skeleton. So instead of
and it plays in the movie even funnier. They expand upon the joke. Would you say the movie's like scary or anything like?
No.
It's not really scary, just kind of spooky, fun to be around with ghosts.
It'd be scary for Karis.
Right. So, would you recommend the movie to families?
Yeah, it's a good like family horror movie, like Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Right, it's that kind of thing of kind of that entry level, little spooky, only scary for young ages, but something gets you acclimated, used to watching this kind of movie.
Yeah. And if you're a horror guy, it's probably not going to be as scary as some of the other things you've watched.
So this is a little bit of a tricky film for me to give my evaluation, because if I review it just as an individual, as trying to be objective movie critic guy, I don't think I would recommend it simply on the basis of it's just a little bit too generic. But this is not a movie made for 41-year-old Sean Chandler. This is a movie made for families. So if I put my dad hat on, how was the experience watching it with my 11-year-old son? It was a lot of fun. It was great. And it's a movie that I would recommend to other people. I'm thinking in my mind, oh, should I take the rest of my family and take my 2 daughters and my wife as well to go see this movie in the theater? If I'm thinking that, that means it did its job creating family entertainment, and I feel that's how I have to score this film, with me with my dad hat on. Overall, it's a B- on the entertainment scale, a 6.5, and I have a split recommendation here for individuals that are a little bit older. You can probably sit this one out, but I do think this is a solid piece of family entertainment that you can feel safe having a little spooky, little bit funny, little bit of emotional film with the whole family. Let me know what you thought down below, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye.